Hi, it's Jerry Fiskus, the Lone Man. And we're here with Rick Sailors, President of Property Inspection Services, and we're going to talk about home inspections. So Rick, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi Jerry, thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Jerry, I got into the construction business in 1976, started, and for the past 21 years I've been a carpenter and a senior carpenter for the LA Unified School District. And I moved out here in California in 1986.
You have a bit of a southern accent, I see.
Yeah,
Where are you from?
I'm from Amarillo, Texas.
Oh, okay, good.
I started this business in January of 2004.
Okay.
So for 7 years I've been doing home inspections.
So you've done many hundreds of inspections, I'm sure.
Yeah, several hundreds of inspections.
The question I have is, why is an inspection even necessary? I mean, you're buying a house, you look at the house, everything seems to be working. Why should I spend the money on a home inspection?
Well, I asked the same question.
Yeah.
And years ago, it was actually a realtor that came up to me and said, "Hey, with all of your construction knowledge and stuff, you'd make a good inspector." And I thought, what is that? And so he told me actually that, hey, in 30 or 45 minutes, you can make $200 by going through and inspecting a house. And I thought, well, that sounds like a great business venture. Maybe I'll check into it. And I did. Well, I found out that the California does not require any kind of licensing fee or certifications fee.
So I could become an inspector.
You could become an inspector, and you can charge $200, $250, and or whatever for a home inspection. And 30, 45 minutes, go through, flip switches, do some. Oh, this looks nice, and that's what a lot of people do.
What do you do?
Well, what I do is I spend a good minimum 3 hours.
Wow.
Going through a home. That's the minimum. And but it takes education in order to become a home inspector. And that's what I really like to emphasize.
So when you walk into a home to begin an inspection, what is your first order of business? What do you do first?
Well, first it's actually when I drive up to the curb. And I look for the grading and drainage, how if it rains, where's the water going to flow. Go from there, go up to the house, check all around the landscaping, and then it goes to the wall coverings, the windows, doors, do all the outside first, any other auxiliary structures like a detached garage.
And what are some of the most common things you're going to find that might be of that might cause a potential problem to someone buying a home?
Okay, like just look at grading and drainage, for example. It should slope away, the ground should slope away from your house. So you don't want water collecting or pooling up against the foundation, because that will eventually deteriorate and cause damage to the foundation. And so you want the proper drainage, and that's number one. And because that can potentially cause other problems down the road. So if it's pooling or whatever, then it should actually drain away from it, or you should put in some kind of drains to get that away from the foundation.
And you would note that on the report.
You bet. Note it on the report and take a picture of it.
So even though a seller is supposed to disclose anything wrong with the property, I guess that might be somewhat easy to cover up with a little paint or.
Well, the sellers are required to disclose, but what if it's owned by a bank? Then they can't.
Right.
For foreclosures, they don't really have anything to disclose.
You buy pretty much as is.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of times too, let's just say the seller is still living in the residence. Many times they don't know what's going on with their own property.
Right.
How many times have you gone up into your attic and
me
and looked inside just to make sure everything's okay?
I don't like doing that.
Yeah, I don't even do it to my own house.
I don't like doing that.
But you got all the different.
And you just go everywhere in the house.
I go anywhere there's access that I can get my body into. I'll go.
Now you've got some tools here that you were showing me a little bit earlier, so kind of just go over with me. These are the interesting little bag of tricks you have here. So tell me what.
Okay, it's just little simple tools, but a screwdriver, of course, different tips to. This is to take off the dead front cover off the electrical main panel and sub panels. so I can look inside and inspect for electrical problems.
What are you looking for when you open that up?
Well, you know, that's a good question. When I first started, I'd open up a panel and just kind of stare in there and go, what am I looking at? It's just a bunch of wires. But, and, you know, it take education over the years and experience, but you find out, well, there's, you know, you look for the proper size wire that goes to the 15 amp, 20 amp, 30 amp breakers or whatever, and you look for any kind of double lugging or breakers that are overloaded or potentially overloaded.
You see that?
You can see that from oh yes, all the time. Yeah,
I certainly would not know that.
Yeah, yeah. And so you have actually a circuit that's overloaded, and you know, could be potential problems that'll cause the breaker to switch off or whatever. And then there's other things. There's open voids like wires. You know, a lot of times homeowners will do their own electrical work. They'll add electricity.
They'll hire somebody off the street to do it.
Or exactly.
Right.
And they won't make a good connection or won't make a proper connection. It'll be unsafe. Or they got wires going through the knockouts of the main panel that without bushings to protect the wire. They'll just, you know, it's uneducated work basically.
So that's very critical.
Yeah, and that needs to be, you know, a buyer needs to know things like that for safety.
Anything else with electrical that he has to know that he may not know otherwise?
Well, also about the grounding. You know, it has to be grounded in case of lightning strikes, basically, and grounding the system. Also, whether it's a lateral. You know, a lot of times with newer houses, the electrical wiring is underground now. It's not overhead.
Yes.
You know, so you see a lot of them. That's called a lateral connection. So this is just an outlet tester, and it checks and tests to see if the outlet is wired correctly, whether it's open ground or you know, hot, neutral, reverse.
And you put that in all the outlets?
I test all the outlets that's available. Yeah, if it's empty, then I test every single one of them. And then this tests the ground fault circuit tester right here, the button, and that's now you know, safety standards over the years for outlets that are above the countertops, bathrooms, garages, exterior outlets. Binoculars, in case I can't see certain areas of a roof that I can't actually gain access to.
So let's talk about the roof a little bit.
Okay.
The roof, how can you tell whether a roof is potentially leaking, is leaking, is not leaking? How can you tell if the roof just by looking at it, whether it's in good shape or not?
What I'll do, I will always try to walk on the roof. And of course, you know, a lot of inspectors don't, but for whatever fears or liability issues. But I always try to walk on the roof because there's certain valleys and different areas where you can't see from the ground or from the ladder, different viewpoints. And so I'll walk on the roof, but you know, there's broken tiles, there's slip tiles, if it's concrete tiles, let's say. You know, other service people like, you know, cable people or satellite equipment installation, they'll walk on the roof sometimes and break it, and there's damage to it, or they just slipped, exposing the roofing felt underneath. When the sun hits that, then it deteriorates, and even though there might not be damage now, there will be soon. So I point out that, take a picture of it, point it out.
So you point it out, but oftentimes you don't know for sure. So do you ask for additional inspector?
Well, I verify it actually. Well, first of all, what I do then, when I'm inside, I'll look for any stains. Of course, it might be painted, but then I'll go into the attic and also look. I try to look in that same general area to see if I stains, moisture stains from in that general area. But I will call out, if I see damaged roof, then I'll call out for a licensed, qualified licensed roofing specialist to further evaluate it and to provide service.
Okay, what's this?
This is just a little Semper mirror, isn't it?
It's the mirror.
And I can drop it too and it won't break, so which I've done plenty of times. But what I do with this, I test for heating exhaust leaks. So what I do is, like on a furnace, I'll after the furnace is running for a while, I'll take this near the exhaust
Mm-hmm.
vent, and if it fogs up, that means it's not venting properly. When it's not venting properly, then carbon monoxide is a potential inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that happens pretty frequently. Well, it has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the water heater.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want to make sure it's venting properly.
Wow,
And
just a mirror. Just a mirror does that.
Yeah, that's a good way of. There's other ways, but I like using this method.
Okay.
You
What
can
else?
use actual smoke and see if it will actually go up.
Okay.
This is a infrared thermometer, and I use this when I'm checking the temperature for
so
say
beam-
the air.
beam- so
say
no,
air is
no one's
coming out.
seeing what's going on, but it's beaming like a laser beam or
Yeah,
something.
75 degrees.
So it's
They're on that ceiling.
It's telling you the temperature of whatever it ends up,
Right.
wherever it ends up.
Yeah. So I do this for its heating and air
Uh-huh.
differential, and
Mhm.
for the outlet portion coming out of the
Mhm.
registers, you
Mhm.
check and see what the temperature is. Then you check the return air. There
Mhm.
should be a certain degree differential in temperature.
Mhm.
It kind of gives you an indication of whether or not it needs service. Maybe the air conditioner needs Freon added or whatever. But that's still not for me to determine, but it
Mhm.
lets me know I need to.
So a lot of times you just kind of are looking for certain potential problems, but without actually identifying what the problem is, and you just pretty much write down what the issues are, and then
Yeah,
you
I'm-
advise that maybe they should go get somebody professional to inspect whatever it is that you find it might be.
Yes,
In question.
actually, I act as a generalist.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I do have a lot of knowledge in different
Mhm.
areas,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expert or professional in,
Mm-hmm.
say, heating and air.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I might know, I can identify the problems,
Mm-hmm.
and that's only because of my education, and
Mhm.
because I didn't know it just from my carpentry experience. I had to learn it.